Oh, CKUW 95.9 FM.
Presenting Roots and Berries. Ingredients: riding, reading, and rocking out.
Roots and Berries. It's wholesome, organic, fresh, and wild. It's homemade here at CKUW Studios and all natural.
Warning, may contain traces of nuts.
We are your hosts, Daniel and Tim.
Digging down deep and
Reaching up high.
Roots and Berries.
Greetings to new listeners. This show is dedicated to those of you who are out at Great Woods Blues and Roots Festival this past weekend. We'd like to share our version of the whole experience.
That's right. I'd like to remind our listeners, and to inform any new ones, that we have an ongoing contest. We have books to give away. We used to give them away by phone calls, but now during the summer we want you to write us because it's a cool time to send us a postcard, we think, and we'd like to hear from you directly.
Yeah, send us a postcard or a short note and we'll read it on the air. And include your name and phone number and we'll contact you with your choice of prizes. Here is the address.
Write to us, care of Roots and Berries.
No. Right to Roots and
CKUW.
Berries, care of CKUW.
Thank you, Daniel. At 515 Portage Avenue, Winnipeg, R3B2E9. And don't forget to definitely sign your name, print your name on it, and also your phone number, and we'll phone you back with a choice of books or invite you to choose one somehow or other.
We have quite a few.
Yes, so please send us a note this summer before August is over. Again, the address is Roots and Berries, care of CKUW, 515 Portage Avenue, R3B 2E9.
That's right.
Now, we'd like to start our program with, which is, as Daniel mentioned, focused on the Great Woods weekend. And I'd like to start by thanking Greg, also known as Sven. He took me out there on Thursday afternoon in his funky VW minibus, which is often seen around Birds Hill during the Winnipeg Folk Festival and commonly recognized as Stage 6. It's a pretty well-painted bus and gets a lot of nice looks and laughs. Anyway, it was quite a trip in that bus. We had some problems on the way. I was glad there was a bicycle along in case I needed to get away, but Greg got me there. And we joined our mutual buddy Bill Bob at our campsite. He was set up already with partner Suzanne, and they were enjoying drinks with a neighbor named Michael who had arrived with his family already on Wednesday. So already the crowd was building by the time I got there Thursday late afternoon. I got my tent up. Sven erected a massive blue tarp over me and half the campsite, just in case it would rain. It never did. It was a perfect weekend.
Perfect.
The tarp actually came in hand for shade a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I went for a swim, came back. Suzanne's daughter Melanie and her boyfriend Donovan had joined us, arriving from Winnipeg, and we all had a huge meal together with the family, Michael and Wendy and their two kids, Kate and Matthew, and the six of us. So it was about 10 of us eating together at one picnic table, and we had a fabulous meal. Thanks to all of you for cooking. I did the dishes. Much drinking later, I wandered down to see the music we'd been hearing for a while. It was coming from a little jazz quartet playing on their own touring bus stage just outside the main stage of Great Woods. A youngster working the crowd handed me a newsprint flyer all about the band and their tour called Tulips 2005 60th Anniversary Friendship Tour. And it was celebrating the bond between Canada and Holland, which began during the Second World War when the Dutch Queen was in Ottawa and gave birth to a princess, and then the Canadian soldiers helped liberate Holland. So there's been quite a lot written about that, but this group was promoting the 60th anniversary of all of that, and they were Luluk, Parwanto, and the Helsdingen Trio. Luluk Parwanto is Indonesian born. She played the violin and sang. Her husband Rene van Helsdingen played piano and was the MC for the performances. They have a Nigerian born bass player and an Italian American drummer. Quite a group, and they were very good.
And on top of that, you say they were playing on their own bus with a fold-out stage.
Yeah, they never, I don't think they ever leave their bus. They roll up to a small town festival, fold out their stage, walk out onto it, play their set, fold it back in, and drive away.
Did they fold it back in while they're still standing on it?
I think so. Although I did not see that.
Oh, I got my hand caught in the door.
They ended their set with a lullaby, and Big Dave McLean was starting up on the main stage, so I headed in to hear him. So I never did see how the stage folded up.
Darn.
But I want to play some Big Dave McLean now, and
from his album Blues from the Middle.
Yeah, he played an acoustic set. Joked about having his band behind him, but they weren't really there, and he was great on his own. I'm going to play a song that he played that evening called "Fixin' to Die." It's by Book of White, and here it is.
I'm feeling funny in my mind. I believe I'm fixing to die. Believe I'm fixing to die. Funny in my mind. I believe I'm fixing to die. I feel funny in my mind. I believe I'm fixing to die. I don't mind dying, but I hate to leave my children crying. Just sure we're born today, we were born to die. We were born to die. Just sure we're born today, baby. We were born to die. I'm just sure we're born today, baby. We were born to die. I don't mind dying, but I hate to leave the children crying. Children like I was her baby child, was her baby child. Your mother treated me children like I was her baby child. Your mother treated me children like I was her baby child. That's why I tried so hard to come home to die. My children back before they set me down, before they set me down. Mother, take my children back, baby, before they set me down. Mother, take my children back, baby, before they set me down. I don't want to leave them screaming and crying on my graveyard ground. No, sir. children's mother would cry. Too many nights by the fireside, how my children's mother would cry. That's why I tried so hard just to say goodbye. Fixing to die, funny in my eyes. I believe I'm fixing to die. I feel it funny in my eyes. I believe I'm fixing to die. I don't mind dying, but I hate to leave my children cry.
Listening to CKUW 95.9 FM. This is Roots and Berries. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Tim. And that was Big Dave McLean, Fixin' to Die. And as heard, Thursday night at the Great Woods Festival, after Big Dave, we heard Corey Stevens and his band. It was sort of a mix of Eric Clapton style and Stevie Ray Vaughan licks, and he played very well. The crowd was growing and enjoying themselves. The whole music area out there, from the cabana to the patio to the dance area in front and the grassy seating area that stretches down to the riverbank and a giant tent they had erected along another side, it's all one big happy beer garden. It's a family festival, but there's a lot of drinking that goes on out there. It makes for quite a scene. There's even a bonfire on the grass where people gather around after dark. Well, I was enjoying myself. Bill Bob and I sat on the grass right up front for part of the Corey Stevens set, and we mumbled and chatted and rambled on to ourselves. And then we got restless and rejoined Sven and Suzanne and Melanie and Donovan standing on a patio area near the back with some new campsite neighbors of ours, the soon-to-be ubiquitous Sandy and Glenn. Hello to you. Eventually we all made it back to our site to find Bill Bob had gotten the fire going. A cheery sight, definitely. It was a cool evening, and but beautiful. The stars were out in full. It was actually a wonderful night. We had a fine party around the campfire. Sven brought out his harps, began attracting strangers like moths to the flame. Sandy supplied peanuts. Melanie roasted popcorn. We all had plenty to drink. And Friday morning I was up at 7:30 and enjoyed some solitude before the others emerged from their tent and Sven from his love bus. It wasn't long before we were making coffee and cooking breakfast and getting ready to screech. This has become our group's morning ritual ever since Suzanne brought a bottle of Newfie Screech rum to Great Woods a couple of years ago. And when the screech is poured, the mood gets serious. Sven decides we must have poetry. He pontificates and rhapsodizes and comes up with the idea of the morning limerick. I take him seriously and try to think. It's tough. We come up with some half-baked ideas, we laugh, we screech. And later on after breakfast, Bill Bob grumbles about the porta potties' failings, and when I go to visit our local installation site, it comes to me. And I return, waving my arms in triumph, and I recite my limerick for the day. Here I will try to reenact that for you. This is what I said. There's a camper who chooses to grump about where he has to take a dump. He said, "The shit piles together and I can't tell whether I did lots or just one lump." Yeah, it was quite a hit actually. Well, anyway, pretty soon we were all down in the Broken Head River relaxing in the cool water. Some of us sat on the gravel in the water, just enjoying it, swirling around us, and played with the stones and chatted. Others sat in their lawn chairs and sat above us. But we all sipped drinks and talked and ate snacks and stayed cool all afternoon. It was perfect.
Sounds pleasant.
Idyllic. So much so that I decided I had to call home and get my family to come out that day because they weren't planning to come till the next day. So I borrowed Sven's bicycle from his bus and I rode out to the campground gate to phone Daniel and Di.
On Friday, Tim telephoned. It was a collect call. I didn't know what to do. I was like, whoa, collect. I never answered one of those before. So I got Di to answer it. I wasn't brave enough. And he said, come on out right now, right away. And though exasperated was Di, she had me ring up the home of one Jesse Labossiere, my cousin, and 2 of his grown-ups. The future looked good when we had obtained the information. Jesse L. might ride the wind with us and enjoy the vibes at the fabled Great Woods Roots and Blues Festival. Woohoo! The road stretched out suddenly and we were on it, on Dugald Road, all the way to Enola. And Enola had a petrified can diner.
What does that mean?
Well, I wouldn't want to say the name of one.
Gas chain?
Yes.
Okay.
We ate in there, guaranteed to induce giggling. Jesse and I, and Di, had a burger and a poutine each, and the vehicle rolled out once more. Well, the big forest had its boogie shoes on once we got there. And good old Jesse wanted to get in the water right away, get swimming in the river. Yes, but Di said no. I was kind of glad. I thought it would be a little too cold anyway. Actually, it felt kind of warm, but I don't know. So, Chris Jagger was supposed to be second last that night, but somehow he got it switched, so he was last, and Ben Waters was opening for him. They both rocked it out. Ben Waters played his familiar brand of piano rock and roll that made sure everyone could dance. I say familiar because we heard his great music last year, and he did a good job as usual. He's a hot piano player with fingers racing all over up and down the keys.
He pounds back the beer as he works those keys.
Yeah, I don't know how he stays
Sober?
Yeah.
Hey, we don't know if he is, but he's good.
Yeah, and he even plays with his feet sometimes.
Yeah.
And he pounds the piano keys too. He's an incredible guy. And then Chris Jagger came on. Yeah, he was a Jagger, all right. Mixed brother, to be sure. He even looked like his brother, though, to his credit, without the ridiculous lips. He played an interesting mix of rockabilly, rock and roll, zydeco, and blues. A good show all around that night was. So now we're gonna play a few songs played by those couple of guys. Ben Waters played with Chris Jagger. Apparently they're good friends, and the house band, the Great Woods House Band, all played too. So we're gonna have a song that Ben Waters played.
We don't have a Ben Waters CD on hand, but we do have a version of Barefootin', which I love this song. I liked it before I heard Ben Waters' version because I have it on this record by Pete Townshend.
Pete
And it's a
Townshend.
great dancing song, and we were dancing. So here's Pete's version of Barefootin'.
Everybody get on your feet. You're looking at us.
Take off your shoes and hit your feet. We're doing a dance that can't be beat. We're barefooted. We're barefooted. 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 Went to a party the other night. Long tall Sally was out of sight. She threw a wig and high sneakers too. She's doing a dance without any shoes. She's barefooted. 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 Yeah, barefooted. Hey, little girl with a red dress on. I bet you can barefoot all night long. Take off your shoes. you can barefoot too. She told John, I'll get out of here blue. I've been barefooting ever since I was two. Barefooting, barefooting, yeah. Just barefooting, yeah. Barefooting. Take off your shoes and dance.
Well, that was the Rolling Stones from Exile on Main Street with their version of Hip Shake Sing, or alternately called Shake Your Hips. And that was played Friday night at Great Woods Music Festival by Chris Jagger, Mick's, I think, younger brother. And we had a great time listening to them. And finally, we left the music area after this show was over and headed back to our campsite. And when we got there that Friday night, Daniel got out his guitar pretty quick, and I lit the campfire. We sat around with Jesse and Di, and soon others joined us. And Daniel strummed on his guitar, and then we noticed that there was a group of listeners beginning to gather in the darkness just on the other side of our picnic table. They were sort of passing by and stopped to listen, and so I suggested to Daniel play a song. Because I'm pretty proud of his playing, and I figured he might as well entertain while there's a crowd. And I thought he should play Subterranean Homesick Blues, which is something he's been learning for a while, and he did, and it was wonderful. So I want you all, listeners, please sit back and imagine yourselves out on a cool night under the full sky of stars out in the Great Woods Campground, sitting around the fire with us. And I'm going to turn on Daniel's guitar mic here, and he's going to play it for you.
Well, Johnny's in the basement, mixing up the medicine. I'm on the pavement, thinking about the government. Man in the trench coat, branch shot, laid off. Says he got a bad bill, wants to get it paid off. Look out, kid, something you did, God knows when, but you're doing it again. You better duck down the alleyway, looking for a new friend. Man in the coonskin hat on the pig pen, wants $11 bills, but you only got 10. Maggie comes fleet-foot, face full of black soot, talking at the heat, put the plants on the bed, but the phone stabbed anyway. Maggie says the men say they must bust in early May, orders from the DA. Look out, kid, don't matter what you did, but you better walk on tiptoes, don't tie no bows, careful of those that carry around a fire hose, keep a clean nose, watch out for the plane blows. You don't need a weatherman, I know it's where the wind blows. Get well, hang around the inkwell, ring bell, hard to tell if anything is gonna sell. Try hard, get barred, get back, ride rail, get jail, don't bail, join the army if you fail. Look out, kid, you're gonna get hit by useless cheaters, 6-time losers, hanging around in theaters. A girl by the whirlpools looking for a new fool. Don't follow leaders, watch your parking meters. Short pants, romance, learn to dance, get dressed, get blessed, try to be a success, please her, please him, buy gifts, don't steal, don't live, 20 years of schooling and they put you on the day shift. Look out, kid, they keep it all hid. Better jump down a manhole, light yourself a candle, don't wear sandals, try to avoid the scandals. If you don't want to be a bum, you better not chew gum. Well, the pump don't work cause the vandals took the handle.
Woo!
Thank you.
Way to go. Okay, that was the way it was played, and it got quite a good response there at the campfire. A few compliments from the crowd, and we had a good party after that, until the wee hours.
I went to bed before those hours.
And we slept, and in the morning a new limerick came to me as I became conscious. And I want to read another one, and this, I guess, is for our neighbors Sandy and Glenn, who kept coming across the drainage ditch with their delicious treats and much cheer. Because they had a huge tent trailer and were very stylish, we somehow began to refer to them as rich. They were the ones who were sitting on lawn chairs in the river while we sat on the gravel. They were only 2 on a site, and we were 6 or even 7 at times. But it was all in good fun. So here's my limerick for them. At Holt Renfrew, they get their gitch. You know I'm talking about the super rich. Despite that, good Glenn and Sandy cook great do dishes are oh so handy. But they think our grass is greener on this side of the ditch. Yeah, you had to be there. Continuing, I guess.
You had to be there, but you're here now, listening to us on CKUW 95.9 FM. Roots and Berries. And yes, continuing with my monologue of the weekend.
Fond memories.
Fond memories. The next day, Saturday, August 6th, was a good day to swim. It was proven. I think we may have spent 40% of our waking hours in the water that day, Jesse and I, if not Tim. Yes, we navigated that river all up and down the length of what we could. We crawled upstream from the one beach to a big rock and then floated back down again. It was like mountain climbing, except plus the water and horizontalness. Horizontal adventures, we called it. Then later on, during the music, which I shall speak of momentarily, we swam at the other beach, further upstream. Boy, the current is strong. If I swam hard, I could stay in one place. At 3 o'clock, a band called James McKenty and the Spades began their set. Well, they were pretty darn good. I didn't think much of them at first, but their rock and surf, punk, blues, country, rock, hot stuff certainly did grow on me. By Sunday when they did another set, I was hooting and hollering for an encore with the rest of them. And they played Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Awesome.
The very one I had just played the night before. That was quite a coincidence.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, they did electric.
I remember I was standing in the river at the time and had to whoop it up for
to
you.
be heard all the way from there. Yeah, they were pretty good. The James McKenty was a rocker. And later on, there was Chris Jagger again, whom I missed being in the river. Then Brian Lee, a funky New Orleans guitar lick man who played with the Mardi Gras beat. So I think we're going to play some of that for you now.
We are indeed.
This is a little more rock and roll-ish thing than what he played. Well, he did play this song, actually.
Yes.
This is Palace of the King. We're going to play for you from his CD, Crawfish Lady. And yeah, listen up.
And while we play the song, if you really want to call us and say hi or have any words for Daniel and his version of Subterranean Homesick Blues, he's not sure he has all the words right. But anyway, our number at the studio is 774-6877.
Yeah, I got to do this one for Freddie King. Look it out. I was born down in Dallas, raised up in the city of the wind. I spent a month on Sunday talking about the places that I've been. I played the blues in England, I visited the Queen. She really does my style, but the Queen is not my thing. I'm going back to Dallas, living in the Palace of the King. Wanna be in Russia, but my sky was much too cold. Then I played down in Denmark, but the women's there, they was much too old. Now it may sound funny, no matter what they say. I'm gonna play for a chitlin pizza, any price I'll pay. I'm going back to Dallas, I'm living in the Palace of the King. fell off, baby. Satisfied, but only food that I say. I'm going back to Dallas, living in the palace of the king.
And did I mention that man is blind? He is awesome.
That's right.
Yeah, he said at the end of his show, he said, well, if you'd never had a blind date, you had one now.
That was Brian Lee.
Yeah, Brian Lee from his CD Crawfish Lady, Palace of the King. So after him was the one and only Ronnie Baker Brooks, a man who needed an introduction. And he obviously wanted one, too. Yeah, obviously grandeur was involved with this guy and possibly delusions, too, though. But what a guitar player, though. He did know how to wail it, and he played with his tongue and everything. And his band, wow. Talk about contortions of the mouth. I half expected Ronnie to turn around and point at his bass player saying, "This is Joe," on the facial expressions. The organ and the piano player in that group was pretty hot, too. He had the facial expressions down as well. They were all pretty excited. And at the end, Ronnie walked out into the crowd with his wireless little guitar cord, you know, where it doesn't have a cord. And he walked out and was smiling at everyone, grinning, playing.
Shook a few hands.
Shook a few hands, and he even had a cinematographer following him around.
And a bodyguard slash MC slash
Yeah, he had
towel
his
carrier.
own MC.
Yeah.
The guy,
Stylishly dressed.
Yeah. Then after him, the MC, the shows like the Great Woods MC came up and said, "Make this guy come back on and show off his clothes."
That's right.
That was pretty silly. So yeah, and then at 10:30, a guy by the name of Malfred Milligan took over the stage, making it twice. I heard that going back to Dallas, living in the Palace of the King song. Yeah, he did it too.
Mm-hmm.
And another song I think I heard at least twice was "The Thrill Is Gone," that old B.B. King tune. I think Shirley Johnston did it, and one other. Yeah, and Milligan was a blues rock soul belter. The power went out at least twice during his show, though, but he kept singing. He got well, not everyone, but a bunch of the people at the front singing some old spirituals. The lights out periods gave us an opportunity to gaze up at the starlit sky. Beautiful. And we went back to the campsite without hearing Doyle Bramhall. Oh well.
I suppose we were pretty tired. It had a lot of sun and
Yeah.
surf and whatnot all day.
And if the power outages were going to continue, wasn't much point.
Yeah. But back at our campfire, we could hear Doyle Bramhall coming across the field.
He sounded rockin'.
So that Saturday night at the campfire, Daniel played guitar a bit. Jesse roasted marshmallows, and then he went to bed. Suzanne's brother Mark had come for the evening, and he joined us. And he brought out his washboard and harmonicas
Yeah.
and tried to play along with Daniel.
But
a
no
little bit.
one, Greg nor Mark could find a harmonica that matched my out of tune guitar. I mean, no one could find. I don't know. There must be
Couldn't
a
be worked out
curse
properly.
on my guitar or something.
Well, he went back to the music. Others came and went, and the party gradually petered out. There were some situations I will not speak of now. Another starry night in another tent. I slept in a different tent every night at Great Woods, but it was all good, honest, clean fun. Sunday morning, Sven emerged from his van, reignited the screech ritual in my limerick flame of inspiration. So, over a breakfast of excellent appetizers, wine, and pan-fried pickerel, caught the day before by Mark, I worked up this appropriate ditty for Sunday morning. Because of the situation, it's not locker room humor, it's campsite humor. It's Sunday morning in Site 68. The honey wagon is rolling in the campground gate. The night had been dreamy, the day looked to be steamy. Some of us crapped early and some would crap late. Over to you, Daniel.
Well, Jesse had to go on back home on Sunday. His mom came out too, and she picked him up, but she brought a kayak. So we all got to try out her little kayak that she had rented in the river. That was neat. I never been in a real kayak. Well, actually, my uncle has a sort of kayak, but it's not really a kayak. But this was my first time on a real one, and it was a neat experience. It was all right. I didn't roll over. It was a pretty steady boat, and yeah. And we went for another horizontal adventure that day. We crawled up the rocks horizontally through the river, and that morning and a fair amount of the afternoon was spent lazing around ankle deep in the river with lawn chairs and air mattresses. I read some Jack London book that I'm reading, and Di read her book. And then Tim and I went upstream and then I floated back on an air mattress. That was fun too. Yes, a pleasant experience all around. And then the Elbow Hip Joint people. The Elbow Hip Joint was a band that came on next. Last week we played the Imbayakunas for you when we stated that they would be at the festival, but they weren't. And no one ever said anything about that, but I have the feeling that the Elbow Hip Joint were replacing them. Yeah, they were jazzy people playing jazzy, funky music. And I think they played a Sly Stone song. Stand. But darn it, I missed it. I could hear.
We were at the campsite at the time.
Yeah, I could hear some of it, but not very well, all the way far away. And darn. I love Sly Stone, as you may know from listening in the past. And what I did hear well was Goodly of theirs, of the Elbow Hip Joint people. And then after them, the Go-Go Blues were a psychedelic Doors/Hendrix-inspired blues rock band from the Faroe Islands. And that was pretty cool. And then after them, the Spades played again. Like I said, they were rockin'. Their enthusiasm was infectious. The bass player, called Chachi, and the drummer, called Winchester Street. I don't know if that's his real name, but that's what they called him. They were always yelling goofy things at each other. Yeah, they were pretty funny. And they did this one song where they went really fast and they sped up and sped up and sped up until they were going so fast it was like 700 beats per minute and you couldn't believe it. And at the end he said, I think that one ought to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. Call up Guinness and see if that was affirmed to be a record. Yep. And that McKenty sure could blast out the licks out of his bright orange Gretsch guitar. Yeah, they were groovy. They were the last band I saw at Great Woods.
Wait, weren't they the ones that played some Neil Young?
Oh yeah.
We're gonna play a Neil Young cut. As you may know, we don't have any CDs by James McKenty and the Spades on hand, so we'll play the original version of "Are You Ready for the Country?"
Yeah, they did. They also did "Words," which is also from this album. But we're gonna do "Are You Ready for the Country," which is another song that I like to play on guitar. They were doing all my favorites.
So here's Neil from Harvest with his original version.
Did you pledge to the CKUW Fund Drive? Do you have a friend's card? If you do, here are some of the great places you can use it.
The Winnipeg Folk Festival Music Store gives you 10% off all regular price merchandise.
Within Cinematheque, the Friends Card gives you $1 off second admission when you buy one at regular price.
At the Vinylist, John Smith says if you buy one item at regular price and show your Friends Card, you receive 50% off on your second item.
Sled Dog Music gives you 10% off all repairs and accessories.
Remember, that's the CKUW Friends Card here at CKUW 95.9 FM.
Hey, did you buffer up?
Say what?
Did you register your buffer zone with insect control?
No need. Health Canada wouldn't register pesticides for fogging if they weren't safe.
Actually, manufacturers provide their own test results for single acute exposures only. Health effects of repeated or combined exposures are completely ignored.
Oh, didn't know that. Where do I write?
3 Gray Street, R2L 1V2. Remember to leave your phone number to be notified. Where are you going? Aren't we picking dandelions?
Nope, gotta go buffer up.
Yeah, this is CKUW 95.9 FM, Roots and Berries. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Tim.
And that's a good idea that was just illustrated in that cart there about buffer zones. However, the province has issued a health warning that a health demand that the city has to fog no matter what, and buffer zones are being ignored, sad to say. So register, but they won't.
Maybe write or phone your MLA
and tell them how awful malathion is.
Tell them we'd rather take a chance of dealing with mosquitoes on our own.
Yes.
Okay. Getting back to our weekend at the Great Woods Music Festival. It is coming to the end now, and Sunday afternoon we went back to our campsite. I had already packed up the tent and everything, but the crowd wanted to have a last meal together. Bill, Bob, and Suzanne, and Glenn and Sandy, and Sven, and friends, and the three of us sat around the picnic tables and had a FOSPA of leftovers and a final screech out. Sven insisted we take turns limericking. Things got a little crazy. It was good food and good laughs. And I will share my newly edited version of what was said.
Yeah, they went around the table and everyone had to think of a line rhyming.
And frankly, I don't remember them all. But this is a version of one of the group efforts. Our weekend together was full of joys. Now it's time to clean up the toys. Once more into the breach, raise your glass of screech. We're gonna make a whole lot of noise. And we whooped it up. And we did. And then we packed up and left.
Yes, sadly, after much delaying of the leaving act, we left.
But we did take something with us, more than just memories and, sunburns.
Chocolate cake!
Thank you to Suzanne for giving us the leftover chocolate cake.
Oh, that was delish. Delish.
Yes. So,
I had made quite a dish with ice cream.
Hope you've enjoyed our memories of the weekend at Great Woods Roots and Blues Music Festival. That was the 10th annual. We encourage you to think about going next year, although we hope it doesn't get too big. It's a good size right now. We don't.
Yeah, it is getting bigger. They're expanding.
It's perfect the way it is. So.
Yeah.
So
actually, don't come.
Don't go unless you know somebody else who isn't going.
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, and carpool. Too many cars out there.
Yeah, there are. Or bike, like we wish we had.
We did last year. We biked out there. Maybe we will next year.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
good time.
We'll probably go out now with a song by Dave McLean again, who started off our show in the weekend at Great Woods with his set there on the stage.
He's gonna finish it too here
so
on
I thought
the
we
show.
might play his song "Tales of Last Night" as a final song.
It's kind of fitting.
Yeah, but before we do, I just want to remind you about our write-in.
Yes, we would
request.
like you to write us a postcard or a note and telling us about what you're doing this summer or whatever you'd like to say, and you just might be the proud winner of a book. Actually, it's very likely that you will. We have quite a few books, and we need more applicants. So you can write to Roots and Berries, care of CKUW, at 515 Portage Avenue, R3B 2E9. Got that? Yes, please write to us, and you may win a book.
Yeah, and thanks for listening to CKUW and to Roots and Berries, and stay tuned. There's a lot of good programming on this fine community radio station.
So here's Big Dave McLean.
Firmly driven up under my rib, couldn't cut me as deep as your last comment did. To walk red hot coals a clear country mile couldn't burn me as bad as your last phony smile. The look of contempt all over your face caused my past nights of drinking, your nights of disgrace. And this is pretty, baby, what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna clean up my act when I kick the booze. Well, you booze, you snooze, then you lose. These three things happen, let's just look at the clues. Your mind is all gone, your loved ones are uptight, and the empty bottle of Jack telling tales of last night. Snooze, then you lose. These three things happen, let's just look at the clues. Your mind is all gone, your loved ones are uptight, and the empty bottle of Jack telling tales of last night. To a third party, cause I'm all partied out. And just a mention of booze, enough to make you shout. But now I'm off the booze, and my life's smooth as silk, since I cashed in my bottle on a tall glass of milk. Yeah, milk, it does the body good, I hear is the rule. So fill up your glass and maintain your cool.